Good evening, everyone. I'm Shannon Rutherford, the town planner. This is the Town Plan and Zoning Commission meeting. We will start with a roll call of our members. Robert Canto,
Here.
Phil Cordero,
Here.
Josh Davidson,
Here.
David St. Germain,
Here.
Peter Zarella.
Here.
I'll note for the record that Liz Sanford is absent. We've got our alternates, Lisa Fagan.
Here.
Rob Ingwertson.
Here.
And Taylor Pogson. Currently, Taylor is absent. Hang on. No. Taylor, we were just taking roll call. If you can acknowledge for roll call, please.
Here.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm having a little technical problem.
No problem. Okay, Mr. Chair, it's all yours.
Very good. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Good evening, everyone. My name is David St. Germain. I'd like to welcome you this June 8th, 2026 Town Plan and Zoning meeting. We're going to need an alternate for Liz. Lisa, would you start?
Yes.
Thank you. We also need to appoint a secretary. Josh should be secretary tonight.
Sure.
Not to write anything down.
Yeah.
Sure. Very good. Thanks. Before we start business, could I ask that we stand for the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we're going to start with new business. I'd like to call up Sharia Kaushik, who's got an application for site plan approval for an Eagle Scout project.
Hello everyone, my name is Sharia Kaushik. I am currently a Life Scout with Troop 170 here in Unionville, and I am a freshman in Farmington High School, moving on to my sophomore year next year. Today I'm here to propose my Eagle project, which I'll be working on, which includes a interpretive kiosk and a bike rack near Depot Place, as you can see there. So the components of my thing are the kiosk and the bike rack, which will have history about the previous train stations, which are the passenger stations and the freight stations that used to come here in Unionville, and their connection to Unionville's commerce and economic development. So for that, I propose a kiosk which will have all information about that. Details on the kiosk are listed there. Can't see that far, but okay. So for the display, I plan to have it'll look something like this, where it'll have a panel that will be 36 inches by 24 inches. And there'll be a tube behind it that'll be 36 inches with width and a 24-inch height with 1-inch steel tubing for borders. And it'll be connected to a base plate, which will have a length of 12 inches and width of 12 inches with a 1/4-inch height, which will be embedded into a small concrete footing of 20 inches with a width of 12 to 16 inches. And the total height of the kiosk is around 72 inches. It'll be located next to the building, which you'll see in later slideshow. And my second component, the bike rack, will be brought from SB Design Labs, a company I'm partnering up with for my Eagle project. I chose to partner up with a company rather than create this bike rack myself, because most of the components of the bike rack include professional fabrication of metal, and so scouts wouldn't be able to typically do it because of its dangerous it poses. But I chose to do it through this company because I checked the reviews and they were great. But it was a cost-effective material, and it was really weather resistant, which perfectly fit what I was looking for. And it'll be located opposite side of the kiosk. So this is like an initial cost, but it'll be around $550 with approximate tax and no donations. But moving on to the next slide to see all the collaborations that I'll be doing. First of all, Farmington Displays, where I'll be working with them to help create a panel for my kiosk, which will include all the information, the maps, images, and all the text. And they're also helping me figure out layout of the design overall. And I chose this company because a lot of previous scouts have also worked with them and have had good success, as well as good like donations and helping out the community in total. My second company, SB Design Labs, like I had said previously, I'd be working with them to create my bike rack. And I had talked with Mr. Sear previously, but unless the town has a specific provider that's more reliable or more wanted, we can definitely pick them as one. For the metal, actually, I think this is a previous version of my presentation, but I had chosen metal supermarkets in West Hartford who had the metal I needed for my kiosk. That and they also like fabricate it according to my needs. So as for collaborations, those were it. Moving on, here are some images of where the kiosk and bike rack would be located. So if you can see, the kiosk would be located over there. That's the perspective if you're walking on the trail and you see it at the side. But if you see it in the bigger image on below, you can see how the kiosk and bike rack will be right next to each other, facing each other. And right beside the kiosk on the left-hand side is the building. You can also see the bike rack from the same perspective. And so my next steps would be to review and give changes to my presentation based on the feedback given and hopefully approve it. And then moving on, I would be talking to all those companies that I chose to partner up with and ask for donations or support in my Eagle project. And that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for your presentation. Now we've got time for questions. Mr. Canto.
Good evening. Great job. I think it's an excellent idea. I'm actually very impressed. Couple of quick questions. Where did you find the research for all the information that you're going to be putting on the kiosk?
So I had found out the different components that I'd be using for my project, and it was just mostly a Google search on like the different locations and like stores we have nearby that could possibly help. Also help with previous lead or current leaders in my troop that have experienced like similar processes, and so they had a lot of great advice to give me on this as well.
I guess I should have clarified. Like when you were talking about the old rail station and the old rail trail, that's what I was looking for. Like, where did you find all the information to
So
elaborate on that? That's
so basically there's one leader, Mrs. Germano, and she had already had this idea, and so we have a list in our troop which has all like the Eagle Scout project ideas that people could pick from. And so it had a brief description on that, and so that project was really interesting to me. And so I had talked about it with Mr. Germano and my advisor, Mr. Davids, a lot, and we had decided that this was the project I'm going to be doing. And so she had given me like a basic information of all of it.
Okay, great. All right, now on to the technical stuff. The concrete pad that you're putting in, what's the depth of that?
So on the kiosk, it's 20 inches deep.
Deep, okay.
Yes. And then so that was one of my questions actually. On the bike rack, I'm not sure if the town would like a concrete pad on both ends, but that's definitely an option, which would be around 12 inches of depth on both ends.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm just make sure you work with the town on that and make sure that, like, especially after this weekend with the windstorms we had,
Right.
kiosk, we don't want it to be a sail, so you want to have base on it.
Yes,
It's going to hold it upright and it's not going to snap off or bounce around on you.
definitely.
And then we're going to want it far enough back where nobody's going to hit it going through the trail.
Yeah.
It was a little difficult to see because of the snow,
Yeah.
But I'm assuming you're gonna leave it far enough back so that nobody, can
Yes.
bump into it while they're on the trail?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. No, and other than that, I'm good. Good luck with it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for the presentation tonight. I just had two quick questions. One is I couldn't quite understand how it would look when it's standing up. It gets up to 72 inches. Is it tilted? Is it a board that's a trapezoid shape? Like,
Yes.
what does that look like from the side?
So if you were to look at the kiosk standing straight, then it would be if you ever seen like when you go to like a park or like a trail, if you see like those stands where it's like there's a post and then it's like the panel is like vertical, like kind of angled like this.
Mhm.
So you could like read it. So similar to that, my idea is kind of the same. If you're able to understand it, it's basically like the post and then the panel is angled sideways around and like tilted, so it's easier to like people to see rather than it just being like flat on the ground, like flat on the pole. So
Okay, I guess that's where the 72 inches threw me off because that's more like a 4 or 5 foot level, not that's above my head.
yeah.
It would be so it's fairly large.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. My only other question is for the metal tubing that you're using, are you going to have any corrosion controls?
So the tubing that I previously thought of, again, the metal coming from Metal Supermarkets in West Hartford, it is 6013 aluminum alloy, I think. And so I searched it up online and it showed as 20 to 50 years lasting in outdoor weather.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Good. Okay. Sharia, first, I just want to commend you and thank you for, your commitment to the town and to the history of our town and spending your time committing to doing something like this to help make things better. So thank you. I could tell from your proposal that you're a detail-oriented person, and I appreciated your presentation. So you did very well. Thank you.
Thank you.
I did have sort of follow-up questions similar to Commissioner Cordero. So I want us to think about so at 72 inches, the top of this slanted board will be at 6 feet and the bottom would be something higher than 5 feet because it'll be on a slant, right? Because it's 2 feet.
No, the post.
No, it'll be between 4 and 5 feet. Sorry, the bottom. But I want us to maybe think about. Well, am I right about that? So like it would be the bottom of the slanted platform would be between 4 and 5 feet, somewhere in there.
Yeah. So the post itself is 48 inches, and then the others would, if you can visualize that.
Okay, so maybe it wouldn't quite get up to 6 feet then. I guess where I want us to think about is making sure that it's usable and visible for users of all heights, ages, abilities.
Yes.
And that I maybe take a look at what other kiosks in town or in other towns are and maybe consider if that's the best height.
Right.
I'm not 100% certain I'm understanding all the details here, because if it's 48-inch post and that's going to attach, I assume, to the middle of that platform board. I don't know what to call it. Sorry. Would it attach to the center of it or to the bottom of it? Do you know? Maybe
it'll be mostly like mostly in the center, but a little bit to the bottom.
Okay.
Not like completely in the center.
Okay.
I think if the height is an issue, I think we could definitely change the height of the post itself, just to leave enough space for people to actually visualize it, the kiosk itself.
Thank you. Here would be maybe my suggestion. I bet if you researched what is sort of a universal design principle in terms of signage, you would find maybe the right sort of heights to think about. And I think if you find that and are able to make minor adjustments to your plan, I think that'd be great.
Okay.
Because it does feel like maybe it's a little bit too high.
Tall.
But love the idea and everything you've laid out so far. One last question for you. I don't know how far you've gotten into sort of the history and what you plan to put on the board, but of what you know so far, what's the most interesting thing about the information you're going to put or the history that you found?
Actually, I haven't delved much into the research part of it.
Okay.
But one thing that was interesting to me was definitely how, like the passenger, like it makes sense that the passenger and freight stations were like different, but I would have expected something like to be one big station and then separated into parts. But it's kind of like interesting how it was two separate stations. So the other freight station is actually across the road. So it's like a separate old building.
Does that still exist too? The other?
Yeah, it's still there.
Okay. Yes. Great. That's all. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Drella.
Good evening. Thank you very much for the presentation. And like others mentioned, thank you for the initiatives and trying to make the town better. I think all of my questions have been addressed by your presentation. Some of the other questions, I do echo a little bit of the concern about the height that you might want to take a closer look at that. But otherwise, it looks like a very nice project.
Definitely. Thank you.
I agree. Beautiful project. And just a quick question. After you're completed, who will maintain it? Does it become part of the town's responsibility and, controlling content? Is this going to be used to have any advertising or any rotation of information?
So as for the content on the panel itself, I was gonna be working with Unionville Museum to gather information, images, and like citing them on my board. But other than that, I think I had gotten previous email from Mr. Sear or Miss Rutherford about like consulting the information on the board with the town historian. So I'll definitely be doing that just to make sure all my information is accurate and I have all the things that I need. As for maintaining the board, I haven't really talked much about it, but I was gonna talk about it with Mr. Sear about who'd be maintaining this afterwards, but I think it would be the town.
Okay.
I just don't know who specifically.
Well, thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Mr. Higginson.
Great presentation. One thing, the picture of where the kiosk and the bike rack are gonna be, is that an access point to the trail?
So yes, in the middle there is a slight opening for trail users.
So those aren't gonna impede with that access point, correct?
Sorry.
The kiosk and the bike rack won't impede into that
No.
access point?
They'll be, so the kiosk will be about 2 to 3 feet away from the sidewalk, and so will the bike rack.
Okay, all right, that's all.
Yeah.
All right, and Paxton's online.
Yes, Taylor's available. You should be.
Hi, yes. I hope I'm coming through clear. So yeah, great presentation. I think I echo the same concerns about the height. So that's been addressed already. I guess my only other question is how or what are you going to make the sign out of exactly? Is it going to be rot preventative because you don't want to have like a lean-to style sign like that and then have it just become dilapidated other than the metal posts?
I didn't really get your question. Could you repeat that?
So what's the actual panel, your information panel? What's the actual information panel made of?
So I have to talk with Farmington Displays on that still, but over the panel, I'm not sure what their idea is, but over the panel there will still be a polycarbonate layering, which is kind of like a weather protector sheet, that'll keep it secure.
Okay. Yeah, so if you're gonna do wood, you're gonna want something that's, rot resistant, bug resistant. You're gonna want some kind of pressure treated lumber or something there. Because even with a cover, moisture is gonna get under that cover. It's gonna destroy whatever information you put in there. But I think those are kind of my only two concerns. It's just the height and keeping account what you're making it out of.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I wanted to work with Farmington Displays, because I know they deal with stuff like this and they're professionals at it. And I've seen other scouts have good success with them. So that's why I'm willing to work with them.
Awesome. Appreciate hearing it.
Yes, thank you.
No other questions.
Thank you. My turn. So I'm still trying to grasp like how the sign looks. I'm thinking, 72 feet is taller than me, and I'm not tall. So. But I'm just wondering, is a sign like this posted on the sign like this at 72 inches, or is it going to be on a post kind of like this, and then, or is it going to be angled?
Yeah, it's gonna be angled.
So it's going to be angled.
Yes.
So you may want to go, 72 is 6 feet high. The top might be very, very.
Yes, I agree. Once I hear about it, and I'm like, okay, that sounds like a pretty high like kiosk to me. Yes.
But I like the suggestion of researching what other people have done for kiosks.
No, I completely agree.
I like how you're going with the town historian. I think that's a great idea
Mhm.
about valuable resource and Unionville Museum using our resources.
Yes.
I don't see that I have any other questions.
Perfect.
If I may, I'm going to add one other item because we've been coordinating, Mr. Sear and I have been coordinating with Sharia. We've also reached out to Board of Ed, and we're coordinating with our Highway Department and our Director of Public Works. So the exact location of some of the elements may shift in that the kiosk may actually come to the east side of the trail, and the bike rack may come in this location in front of the depot. So, but we will continue to work with the Eagle Scout candidate regarding these items, but the basic genesis of what you're looking at and discussing is the same. We're just going to fine tune some of these location items as he proceeds through.
Very good. I have one other question. Are you putting a pad underneath the bike rack itself, or with the concrete underneath it, or will it be two concrete sections where it mounts into and then grass underneath?
So currently my idea is to put a concrete pad underneath, but that was my question if that'd be something if you wanted that or if you didn't want that, because I know the bike rack itself comes with drilled holes that I can put into the concrete pad. So I think it would make sense to make one, and it'd just be more durable and secure.
Do we have a suggestion on that?
Yes, the concrete pad would be preferable, right, with the bikes in and out, and then trying to mow around. Then you've got the concrete pad that sets the parameter, and we're hitting the outside edge rather than trying to mow or remove grass in between.
I usually like the sections of mud underneath too.
Well, there's that too, if it's becomes a popular location, correct. So concrete pad generally works out best.
All right. I have
So just for my own clarification, because I'm pretty sure I get it now. So I had in my head that it was like the last one we came in, where it was kind of a covered
A-frame, yeah,
A-frame. This is more of like an easel.
correct. And we might
Okay.
switch. So it's currently that, and we've looked at going vertical with a little roof on it. This, I think, if we can get it weather resistant and there's enough shade in that area, depending on which side we're at with the actual depot building there, that the sun damage and deterioration is probably more limited at this location than it was at Red Oak Hill.
Red Oak.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Then, yeah, I definitely agree. The 72 inches is going to be way too tall for an easel type thing. Well, yeah, just work on that.
Yes.
But now it makes sense. Okay. Like I saw the 72 inches and I'm thinking
Yeah.
above somebody's head, it's going to have the cover like the last one. And all right, now it makes sense. Okay.
I think the sizing concern, I completely agree, and I'll be changing that.
I mean, if I can add something to this, one other suggestion to consider, and I'm sure the town can best weigh in, but would be to just put it straight up and down. So you'd probably need 2 posts would be my guess.
Correct.
And then that way, and actually, if you end up orienting it more towards the trail, it would actually have more northerly facing, less sun hitting it. So anyway, that might solve a few problems for you, but you would have to kind of redesign a little bit. And then just a suggestion for you as well. So I know you're looking for donations.
Mhm.
So creating a destination where you're doing that, right? I'm sure that's also intentional for the shops and whatnot that are in that area that may benefit from people stopping on the trail and may want to help out. So
No, that was
you haven't already.
that was also proposed to me by Mr. Davids, my advisor. So
Yeah,
I was looking into that as well.
You got it all. Thanks.
Any other questions, comments? All right. That said, are we ready to motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the application for site plan approval for the Eagle Scout as presented by Sharia Kaushe. Is that sufficient? My first motion like that, I guess.
And do we have any seconds? All right. Do we have all those in favor?
Aye.
All right. All those opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Motion passes. Congratulations.
Thank you so
Looking
much.
forward to seeing that.
Of course.
Luck.
Thank you so much.
All right. We're ready to move to public hearings. You know what? We actually forgot to read the whole public hearing announcement.
It's
thing.
okay. We're allowed to read it now.
All right. Well, let's
Shall I read?
Please do.
Okay. Notice is hereby given that the Town Plan and Zoning Commission will hold a hybrid in-person and online public hearing on June 8th, 2026 at 7 p.m. in the Town Hall Annex, Council Chambers, 1 Monteith Drive on the following application. Elizabeth and Manuel Coelho, application for special permit and site plan approval for a new single-family home in excess of 1,600 square feet, living area and 2,200 square feet total area at Lot 8638 Pine Drive, R9 LG zone. Interested parties are encouraged to participate in this hybrid public hearing. Participation in person is at 1 Monteith Drive, Town Hall Annex, Town Council Chambers, or online participation via the link to the meeting on the Town of Farmington's website. I don't have to read the address, do I?
No.
Okay. A copy of this proposal is online or by call, or can be had by calling the Planning Department at Farmington Town Hall at 860-675-2325. Dated at Farmington, Connecticut, this 18th day of May, 2026, Town Plan and Zoning Commission. Thanks.
Thanks very much. So I'd like to give a brief explanation as to how public hearings proceed. The applicant will first present to the commission. Commissioners will then ask questions of the applicant. We then open to public comments, starting with those people in the room, and then we move to people who are online. Your comments are important and they're a valued part of this process, but we do ask that people limit them to 5 minutes in person per person. If your comments echo those of previous speakers, it's okay to acknowledge this in your comments rather than restate the point. And we share these guidelines to be respectful of both the public and the commissioners' times. And that all said, I'd like to ask the applicant to come up.
Good evening. I'm a little bit under the weather tonight, so I'll keep my comments brief. My name is Elizabeth Coelho, applicant for 8638 Pine Drive. We're requesting special permit approval to construct a new one-story single-family home on an existing lot of record. The lot line adjustment makes the lot less non-conforming and the home meets all current setback requirements. Thank you for your time. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Can you just give us a little bit more detail about?
Sure. So about a year and a half ago, we bought the property 11 Pine Drive that was, it contained this lot 8638 Pine. The lot of 8638 Pine has been about 75 years lot of record, buildable R9 lot. However, we started talking with planning and zoning about a year ago, just like what our dreams was to build on that lot. And we came up with a design that was, since the lot was 50 foot wide, with setbacks, the largest house would be around 40 foot wide. We wanted to build a one-story house because we felt like it really would go with the character of the neighborhood. And as you know, a lot of Lake Garda houses there are several 2 stories, but it's also, some are small cottages still. So we thought that we came up with a design that we loved. And then we looked at it a little closer, and thought if we could take 5 foot from 11 Pine Drive, which has a 100-foot lot, and move it to 8638, we could expand the garage a few feet and make it a lot more usable. And also we could have the propane on the side of the house instead of in the back. And also we could space out the lot a little bit from both houses. It'd be more centered between both houses. So when we started exploring this, the 5-foot addition to the lot, even though we own both, it changes the lot. So the setbacks are all the same, but that causes this special permit request, because when you change a lot of record, there's another set of special regulations, which is the 1,600 square foot. That was not really in play if we kept the lot at the 50-foot, but we just felt this design was much better. And so we decided to delay the project 2 months to come do this and, see what you guys think.
Okay. So why don't we start with Commissioner question, Mr. Canto?
All right, so you own both lots and you're
Yes.
currently on one and you're building a house on another?
So we have tenants that live in 11 Pine Drive. We've lived in the neighborhood on Lido Road for the last 20 years. So we're very, very committed to maintaining the character of Lake Garden neighborhood for sure. So there's no restriction for us to move the 5. My understanding from the town is that there's no restriction for us to move the 5-foot. There's no restriction for us to build the 40-foot wide house. But if we move the 5-foot before we build the house rather than after, then there's it comes under the new zoning. It changes the lot of record somewhat to where it would come under the new zoning regulations. So that's why we're applying for this special permit today.
Okay, and if I see this correctly, you're gonna have 6 feet between the house and the property line? So 6.5.
So just on the very front, because the original design of the 40-foot house was a 1.5 car garage. And so we expanded the garage to a 2. We expanded the garage to be a true 2-car garage by a couple of feet. So for about 16.5 feet, that would be the 6-foot setback. Up to the 6-foot setback.
On both sides of the house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's where it's confusing because it says 5'5" side yard, but then it says 6 feet. So that's why I'm.
So the 5.5 feet is this side yard, is the mandatory side yard setback. That's the minimum. That's how close it could be. So that's a setback requirement. The house will actually be located 6 feet and
6 feet.
6 feet here. There's a 2-foot jog, so it pushes back to 8 feet.
Okay.
The setback in this zone is 10% of the lot frontage. So at 55 feet, it puts it at 5.5 feet for each side.
Okay,
And a minimum of 6 is being provided on each side.
thank you. Now it makes sense. Okay.
You're welcome.
There was a lot of it.
There's a lot of details.
I tried to walk through most of it in the agenda review, but it's not one of the more straightforward
Right.
processes.
Okay. All right, come back to me. I'm gonna.
Okay, so I'm still wrapping my head around the same sets of questions. I thought I understood this coming into the meeting, but now I know.
Yeah.
that I don't.
It honestly took us about a year to get to this point.
So I know we took 5 feet from 11. when I looked at this before, it looked like you couldn't take any more without having a problem with that lot.
Well, just because of the, like our town planner mentioned, the 10% of frontage. So if you have the 100-foot frontage for 11 Pine, then 10% of that is 10 feet. So we were kind of going with that 95-foot. We would reduce that to 95-foot instead of 100. So then that would cause on the side of the carport to need 9.5 feet. And it'll be just a little bit over that, I think, really close to that. So 9.5 feet on the side of the carport. Even though the carport is open, it's just like a little roof. It's not enclosed, but it's still part of that setback requirement.
So I think the bottom line is you can't get a frontage that's conforming.
No, but it does make the lot less non-conforming. So it has been a lot of records since I think 46, but I could be wrong. I was looking for the deed but it's been for a long time. And it does make both 11 Pine is still conforming, even losing 5 feet. And it'll be 15 Pine probably when a house is on it, but right now 8638 is still more conforming than it was, because theoretically now everyone would like it to be 75 feet instead of 50.
Okay. I think I totally understand it now. The other part that I think is a little bit difficult when looking at this is we have a lot that's not quite large enough, and then we're filling it with house. So it almost
Yes.
exacerbates the issue. If it were one or the other, I think it'd be easier to look at and say this shouldn't be an issue, but we're putting a large house on it. And I think I understand now because you want it to be one floor, which I think I understand that motivation. Did you explore anything else to potentially fit in this lot?
Yes, we did. We felt that a one-story house actually goes better with the character of the neighborhood, and the houses that are next door are, well, 11 Pine is 1,400 square foot, one story with the full finished, well, mostly finished basement. And so although we did explore, we felt that this, even though the footprint is large, it's mostly facing towards the back. So from the street, the look of it is very similar to other houses as far as size and height. So that's one reason we settled. We really liked that design. Obviously, you get a better lake view the higher up you go. But considering the houses in the neighborhood and the houses right next door, this seemed the best option aesthetically.
Okay. It is a very unique neighborhood in town. I'm familiar with it. So I don't have any other questions right now.
All right, Mr. Davidson.
Good evening. So I too share some of the concerns about it. It's just an intense usage of the land. I think I'm more concerned with sort of the distance to the side yards, which I understand you're sort of at the minimum on the non-conforming lot. If I can dive into the details again of how many feet you took or could take from 11 Pine, if I'm understanding correctly, there's probably another 3 to 4 feet you could potentially take and still keep that lot conforming. Because I understand that as you take a foot, you reduce the setback, or well, I guess
the overall width.
Yeah, right. You're reducing the overall width, but the setback does not shrink because that's a conforming lot, so it stays at 10 feet. Is that right?
No, it would
It
go to the,
goes-
it would go to
it
the
goes to 10%.
9.5.
Okay.
We were at the,
So the maximum, so if the lot was 120 feet, the maximum is 10 feet. So, but then
less
as the lot reduces, then the side yard setback goes to 10% of the lot width.
Okay.
As you get under 100 feet.
So just from an intensity, so I commend sort of the one story attempt here. And I think that probably does fit more in character with the neighborhood. I know there are some 2-story homes across the street and obviously in the neighborhood. but I get where you're going. I do feel it's a little bit tight, being so close to the property lines. I did also have some questions or concerns, which I think the planning staff had called out as well, about the propane tanks. Do you know the size of the propane tanks by any chance? I think it was
Yes, so
120,
the propane tanks are, I
120.
believe 30 inches in diameter
Yeah.
round. So we designed it to, the propane tanks have a different setback than the 6 foot. They have the 5 foot setback, and they do have to be screened from view.
Yeah.
So this was designed also to fit those two propane tanks, as well as kind of screen it from the street, shield it from the street, and also would be complying with the fence requirement to screen them as requested by Article 3, Section A, I think.
So would it be screened with you said a fence, are you thinking?
Well, we will agree to address that with whatever's the normal and customary, because that's the new requirement, is that you have like a cover
Right, it has to be screened from the neighbor as well.
from the neighbor.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a new requirement, so the other properties, like her yard, is not screened, but
Right.
we would want to comply with all the regulations.
So in order to comply, I don't know what, I'm sure there's like a safety either recommendation or requirement, because you're gonna have to be able to, fill those tanks. So somebody's got to get back there
Yes.
with a hose, fill them.
Yep.
And then there's some sort of minimum distance from a fire standpoint as well, from other sources of ignition. And I did notice that the neighbor has what appears to be, or at least as of late 2025 Street View, appears to have a whole home automatic generator that's in that vicinity. Because their house was not on your site plan. I wasn't sure where to line, but sort of right behind that bush there is a generator. And I don't know how far that is from where the propane tanks might be, but it's something to consider.
Sure. Yeah, we should address that for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I think you need to be 10 feet from it. So you're probably 10 feet from it, but it's also probably close. So
Yeah.
that was just,
Sure. Good
consider
point.
that.
I'll make a note of that and check it out.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'll make a note of that.
And so I guess just in terms of, it's 5 feet from the garage part, right? It's 7 feet to the part behind the garage.
So
7
that
foot.
one,
It said 2 feet, I thought, was like that little corner there. Yeah, so it's 2 feet. So the 30-inch tanks,
it'll stick out a bit.
yeah. So if the tanks are actually touching the house, they'll stick out 6 inches. They may stick out more depending on, I don't know whether it's a valve or a hose coming off of it going into the house, depending on how it's exactly set up. So you've got a little less than 6 feet to the property line from the tanks.
Right. And that requirement is 5 feet, I believe.
Okay.
That requirement is 5 feet, according Garrett and I, we had so many conversations about the propane tanks. I can't tell you.
5 feet.
But we did not think about the generator. So, and we do have it spaced from the doors and windows as required, but
Yeah.
definitely I'll check out what the neighbor and how it would line up with anything on that side. But
You're probably 10 feet from it, which I think is the requirement. I don't know if that's a zoning requirement or like a fire safety requirement, but that was when I was
mhm,
trying to do some research. That's what I saw.
perfect.
but don't take that for as gospel or as
No, we'll definitely
not
check it out.
sure. Yeah, so I guess it's an intense use of the land, right? So while there are other homes that are as big or bigger, I don't know if there are other homes that are this big on this small of a lot. There are other lots this small, but the homes appear, from what I could tell, and correct me if you know differently, I guess. So maybe this is a question, not a statement, but are there other lots that are this small that have homes this big?
So I was going to bring up, I'm not sure if Mrs. Rutherford, if you have the chart of that
I
we,
have the chart that,
Yeah.
that you did.
I'm familiar with the chart.
so I made a chart
Yeah.
because just in case we asked that question, because the publicly listed square footages for nearby homes, including those marketed on Zillow and Realtor.com, show the neighborhood consists of homes much larger than the minimums in this regulation. So, and those have some, I also did the other zip code, but the other zip code of 032 has significantly larger lot sizes and also almost double the average house size.
Okay.
So this chart is
There are a few there that are really
new construction in the last 10 years. And the only lots that are about that small are the rustic oak ones. But you could see from the chart that the living areas are also significantly larger. And even most of the lots in our this zip code, most of the lots are on the smaller side, definitely on the smaller side. Also, of note, because in the report with the town square footages, those are different from how the homes nearby are marketed online. So I just also included some of the square footages on the bottom of homes on the street or within 1 or 2 blocks, so that you could see that the home that we're proposing is within the range of other homes in the area.
Shannon, would I be able to possibly ask you to bring up the GIS
Of course.
for the street?
Absolutely.
Just, I think it's the like default view that shows sort of like the general shapes of the homes and the lot sizes.
Yep, I gotta come down.
So maybe without the satellite, I don't remember.
I can, yep, I can turn
I
off
think
the satellite here in just a second. Let me do.
So I understand that like there are homes that are bigger than this that have been built in Farmington, but that rustic oak street, that's not in Lake Garda, is that correct?
No, not Lake Garda, but in the zip code. And
It's-
then
Rustic Oak is in Snowberry, and I believe they're 2-story homes.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the street, and I can go to
Yeah, that
basement.
that'd be great. So when like if we look at your plot, like we looked at your plot and the outline of your home on your plot, and your plot is that empty plot between right there
Mhm.
Jen is pointing to. And so when we imagine this house on that plot, it takes up I think it's about 80% of the
I don't know the
area,
exact percentage.
something like that. That's what I had calculated, but perhaps that was not correct, but that's what I'd calculated. And so when I look at around you, look at the street, look at the surrounding streets, there doesn't seem to be anything that's using that much of the land. So it's an intensive use. I don't know that necessarily disqualifies it, but it's different. And so when I think about sort of the character of the neighborhood, I have questions about that. I think the fact that a lot of it is deep and not sort of visible from, like, the intensity is not as visible from the street per se, it's probably more visible for the neighboring properties. I understand that today you own that one of the two properties, but there are other neighbors and you may not own these properties forever. And so I think we have obligations to make this not just about who lives in these places today, but sort of for long term, to make the best decisions and make sure that the plan does keep in aligned with the character of the neighborhood. And so I think that if you were to drive down this street with this home built as described, its closeness to the neighbors and its sort of scale might be noticeably different. I mean, I understand that there are other homes in Lake Garda that sort of also look exceptional, let's say. Like, there's a lot that look similar, and then there's some others that look exceptional. And so I do understand that. But are you amenable to potentially taking more land, more of the frontage from 11 Pine Drive, keeping the house footprint the same, maybe shifting it? And I don't know, I have no idea if this is possible, but shifting it over 2-3 feet, whatever extra you can kind of get, just to give it a little bit more breathing room.
Well, my understanding is that we're at the max from the surveyor and from planning. My understanding was that we were at the max for, unless we took out the carport. Like unless the carport was taken down
Okay.
and
Because I thought if it's 15 feet that's
Yeah,
after.
It's not,
That's not after.
I think that dimension has to be, so if this line is
Okay.
10 feet, then the
yeah,
15-foot dimension is incorrect.
I think it's incorrect.
Unfortunately,
Got it,
there's a
okay.
couple of errors on the survey, which doesn't.
Well, this
And I-
lot line,
Presentation.
right, this one
I
was
thought
the
there might be an extra
original.
few feet. Okay.
So that was probably, the 15 was probably to the original,
To the
and then
original,
the
okay.
text edit didn't happen.
The arrow
to-
should be to the other dotted line or whatever.
Correct, so this is showing 10 feet.
Got it. Okay.
I think there is a mistake there.
Okay.
Thanks for pointing that out.
No, it's okay. I was
Yeah, I,
looking for a solution that
What-
maybe.
we definitely explored a lot of options here, but I think the fact that it goes back deeper has maybe less of a big backyard, but I feel like it'll be a very beautiful home for the area.
And then I don't know how much you would be able to answer this, but the stormwater system that is planned for the backyard, my understanding, it's sort of like a temporary kind of holding tool that will take stormwater during sort of a heavy rainfall or big storm and will allow it to sort of flow downhill essentially behind you to your neighbor behind you over a longer period of time than if it was just the current graded land. Is that accurate to your understanding?
Well, hot off the press.
Okay.
As of our conversations last week with the planning department, Garrett had asked that we proposed possibly doing a mafia block or like a stone retaining wall in the back to help with erosion because of the back. And so he asked for a revised site plan, which I didn't get big, but I have it here, small, and to include a potential retaining wall in the back, a 4-foot high retaining wall, just to help shore up that, because there is a drop after the property. There is a bit of a drop. So then that would also help, like that includes the drainage system that was requested by the town of the infiltration chambers, and also includes drainage for a retaining wall in front. And it has like a curve to address. So I could pass these around. They're just small. Sorry about that. It was just maybe 2 hours before the meeting. The surveyor called me and he's like, I finally got it ready for you. But we didn't know if there would be an answer for that. But is that okay if I pass this?
Sure.
If you pass these.
Yep, that's fine. And then you can email it to us so we have it for the record.
Mhm.
Would the wall, so how would a wall lessen the impact of the runoff to the property behind?
Because it would have also, it would also,
Or reduce.
well, because it would have also when you're building a stone wall, we have that drainage fully in front of the wall as well. And also then you have a more flat backyard. So the backyard is small because of the house. And then you would have the backyard would be more level. And
Yeah.
and also I think nicer looking. And also you would have really 2 drainage systems because you have the drainage system that you put inside a wall when you're building, you have the crushed stone and the gravel in front and everything like that. And then you have the drainage system that's requested by the town. And that was what Garrett had asked me about a week ago to start working on. And so I'm not saying this is the final, but we're working on complying with all of these requests as much as we can.
Thank you.
Sure.
If I can actually ask, Shannon, do you have anything that you can add in terms of your expertise on what this drainage
Yes.
technology does and or doesn't do, and what the requests have been so far?
Yes, and
you.
I'm happy to do so. So I was looking to try to see if I can understand what the downstream is, understanding that this so, right, we got to rotate this Pine Drive. So the map shows Pine Drive at the bottom. So this whole thing rotates 180 degrees. Pine Drive's here. So the slope drops off the back and comes through the back corner of 14 Colony and I don't know if it's Ravine or Colony. So, and then there's the road picks up. This is a right of way through here, but there's no roadway. Pine Drive comes through at the angle.
It's like a trail.
And this is a wooded, correct. It's like a wooded path through here that was not, East Shore Boulevard was never extended through. So this is a three-way intersection here, though I'm fairly certain. But I'm also not seeing any drainage structures. It is very, very sandy out here. I don't know the water table elevation. There is sanitary sewer. So the infiltration system is designed to take the first 1.3 inches of rainfall that comes off the roof. So the entire roof system, so everything that's impervious except the driveway. So the driveway would sheet flow back out onto Pine Drive anyhow. But all the roof leaders will connect in and tie into these underground Caltech chambers. So it's designed for the first 1.3 inches. It's actually going to be just a little bit over that. And then there's an overflow. So for a larger storm, it'll overtop. So for example, this weekend when we had that heavy rain Saturday night, we got 6 to 7/10 of an inch of rain. So from a perspective standpoint, now that's assuming, right, that it all gets into the gutters and it doesn't overflow onto their own yard. I know it came down pretty heavy. And for a longer duration storm that's not as intense, it's entirely possible that the infiltrators with good media and good sand has the potential to take more volume. If it's a slower, not quite as intense as we had over this weekend, but that's the principle. The higher storms, if we get a 10-year storm and we get 5 inches of rain, it's not all going to go in here. It is going to find its natural path down in between these homes. It does look like it will ultimately grade out into this right-of-way area, which is what the natural topography is doing now. It'll grade out to this area and then come down through. I'm not sure. I believe perhaps the retaining wall, and I haven't seen what's come through, perhaps the retaining wall was to actually create some usable backyard space. So, right, because right now there is no usable backyard space the way this is shown. You've got a patio and this, we've got a finished floor elevation of, we got a top of foundation and a finished floor of 303.5 and a step down to a patio and then a 300 contour here. So there's probably a little bit of grading. Your foundation elevation, you could have a couple of steps out to the patio and exposed foundation at the rear, which would not be unusual. But if you create a retaining wall here, it will give you a little bit of usable yard area, which may have been part of the conversation.
Yeah, it looks like in the plan that was just handed out at the very top of it, it says there's like an image of concrete block wall and there's a dashed line that says existing grade. It's sort of a straight diagonal. And then there's a solid black line that says finished grade that is sort of flatter at the beginning and then slopes down to the wall, which then says looks like filter fabric, 3/4 inch stone, and then a perforated 2-inch PVC pipe underneath the wall that then looks like it exits under the wall, sort of downslope, probably close to the property line.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you for all of that.
Sure. And that is
background
something that we would
education.
review to make sure that we understood where that downstream location is and that it is getting to the right of way and not somebody's front door.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, I don't have any further questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, Mr. Zarella.
Good evening.
Hi.
I didn't, maybe I missed it. I didn't see a measurement anywhere. But what's the distance between the edge of the proposed construction and the home on 17 Pine Drive? Know what that distance is?
I'm not sure if that is on any of these maps. Let me check.
I don't think we're gonna get that.
I'm not
correctly.
sure
Yeah, it's a
that's
couple.
on the map, to be
So I can
honest.
estimate it.
But I would estimate, just being out there a lot, mowing the lawn last week, I'm guessing around 10 feet from I'm guessing their house is around 10 feet from their property line. So I think that would be my guess. Maybe 8.
And then what's driving the essentially the 400 square feet of living space above the R9 zone limit? What sort of-
Well, basically just the idea that a single family, Farmington has more options as more existing homes are at a smaller. So I wanted to be, because the cost of building has gone up so much. My builder said it's doubled in the last 6 years. I wanted to be at a place where it was a marketable home that was able to accommodate the needs from a larger family, because if a smaller family has more of like an existing homes and that they're able, or the apartments and townhomes in Farmington have increased. And so smaller families have more options. But I feel like when you're talking about building, I wanted to be more in line with that chart that we were looking at before about new construction sizes, because just so that it's keeping up with inflation, as far as that the investment, it would be worth it to make it something that a larger family could use. So I do have like the other zip code. So the square footages of new construction in 06032 is between 2450 and 3800. So this one is 06085. I think it's a little bit up in the top one. Yeah. So you could see like this one ranges from 2150 to 4289. So I just wanted to be in the range. And I feel like maybe this puts it not at the highest and not like at the mansion level. And since it is a single story and with no basement, but it does put it in the range.
I mean, I understand that reasoning entirely. The problem I'm running into is that the regulation is rather specific about the location that we're supposed to consider, which is within 1,000 feet of the house. Do you know the bottom half of that sheet, how many of those homes are within 1,000 feet? I'm assuming at least 8, 5, and maybe 18 Pine Drive and 17.
So 17 was right next door. So although the town records show it as maybe 1,000 square foot, it was just sold as an 1,800 square foot. And so that's a reason why I wanted to give some other data of local homes that was not exactly the town data, because this is the reality that people are buying homes from those websites and marketing their homes. A lot of them include a second finish level or an addition. So
It's entirely possible if the basement was finished, it's marketed with the finished basement as living area.
mhm,
There
right.
both our regulations, so living area, so this is 17 Pine Drive. And the living area on the assessor's record takes the area above grade level. It's referred to as a ranch style, and it's the 1,040 square feet, built in 1977. So it would not, if the basement, any portion of the basement is finished, it's not included
Right, it's,
in our assessor's data, and that's how, and that is consistent with how the regulation is worded as well. So the basement, whether it's finished or unfinished, does not count for or against you with respect to this expanded home regulation. So that's, they could reduce the size of the house, put a basement in and choose to finish it.
this particular one is a walkout second level, like with the door and, you know,
It might have a walkout in the basement.
Yeah.
Grade drops off.
the grade drops off because that's on a slope where this is more flat.
It's listed on Realtor as 1040 above grade and 780 below grade.
There you go.
So
So that, yeah, if it's got a walkout basement out the back, which this grade almost, it doesn't quite get you there. But if that grade continues across, then that's understandable. So, but again, we still, a basement's a basement. For the way we look at it, it's finished, but we don't count it, again, for or against.
Assuming all the required public notices went out, have you received any oppositions to your application from any neighbors or anything?
So we received 2 notes of support, one from Diana Rodriguez next door and one from Marcy Lostrapo and on Colony. And as far as opposition, I only received some questions about the project, just interest about the project from our neighbors, Wes and Allison behind in the Colony. Their house is, yeah, Wes and Allison behind us. I can't remember the
No,
actual address.
um,
So they had asked to see a little bit of information about it. The other neighbors that we've talked to were more in the beginning of last summer when we were starting the project and starting to consider the trees, and the neighbors had a lot of concerns about the trees. 5 across the street, Sal was very thankful. I'm so glad you're taking the trees down because 5 trees have fallen in the last few years, on most of them on houses. That's one tree fell on 11 Pine. So neighbors did comment about, they were thankful, even though everyone loves a tree and I love the look of it, just the danger of over 100-foot pine trees and some of them rotten. So there was some comments about that, like happy to see a house there instead of trees. Because I believe that might be the reason why they sold 11 Pine, because a tree fell right onto the kitchen. And so when we bought it, had a new siding and new roof on that side. And then also the comments, a lot of people are very supportive because when we bought 11 Pine, I mean, my husband and I really put in a lot of elbow grease into that, and they could see us out there, you know, tiling, painting with our kids, doing the yard, you know. I feel like they have a little respect for people from the neighborhood, just kind of wanting to buy a house that maybe their kids will live in someday. That's a few blocks from their house, as we did. And then the other comment I received from another neighbor, Cindy, she and Brian are great. They're on the other side of 11 Pine, so I don't know if that's number 8, but she just bought solar panels, so she was like, "Thank you for taking the trees." Now I'm actually getting some value out of my solar panels. So, and since we sent out the notices, no other comments.
Thank you. That was
Sure.
very helpful. No further questions from me.
So I understand the reason that you're doing this, and I respect that very much, and the sweat equity and building a home that potentially your family could move into later. And without elevation renderings, I can't really see fully how it impacts everyone, but I have to say it's really visually dominating. And it does sort of intrude on the character of the neighborhood, and it starts to feel like it's being overdeveloped and crowding. I feel like just more sensitive to the neighbors, not opposed to what you're trying to do, but without any yard space. It does push all the legal parameters, and it does seem like the design is dominating what it could otherwise maybe be a more conforming home. I don't know the history if you went over it, but would you be able to consider a two-story home that's more traditional for the neighborhood with more basement space and maybe a first floor master that would suit like more long-term use of the house, or maybe multi-generational use?
Well, we did consider two-story plans, and the two-story plans, this site plan rendering is it's hard to say if that's actually how it's going to look, to be honest, because of AI. And I feel like the height is about the same height as the neighbor's house, and the front is exactly, which those are a little bit hard to do. The front of 17 and the front of our house will be right along the same, right at the same point, which is hard to see in that picture because I think there's limits to taking a photo and then trying to squish it in there. So I think it'll look better than what you see, to be honest. We did look at two-story homes, and there are two-story homes on that street, several, but not in the line of houses, not in that line of houses. So this floor plan is a 4-bedroom. And so you have to go a few houses over in order to get to two-story houses on both sides. So we just really liked the modern look of this, and we really liked the 1-story. And we thought this was the best option for the design and still within all the setbacks.
I thank you for that. I really can't get past how visually dominating it does feel, that it would look more so with a more contemporary design of the house. And maybe a cape would not look not as non-traditional as a contemporary home. And I just looking at the long-term preserving the character of the neighborhood.
Appreciate that. Appreciate those comments.
Thank you very much.
Just one thing, Shannon, can we go down a couple houses from there? It's about the same lot size.
Sure.
Just so I can get a visual to see how that house looks on the lot, because it's the same size lot, basically. It's 50 by 120. I think it's from number 5, maybe.
So number 5 is a little, I think number 5's had a lot line revision.
Oh, has it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's
it looks
number
like-
5.
All right.
So
All right.
There are two on the other
number 1,
Is there?
side that are similar, I believe. But
I just kind of, because
yeah, that one too.
I agree. It is kind of visually imposing by looking at the picture that we're being shown. I just kind of want to get a visual of what
sure.
house is that's there, roughly the same
So
size lot.
I went to number 1 is a 50 by 120.
That's a town-owned house, right?
It is on town. Oak,
Wow.
I didn't realize.
You do.
Yeah.
And I believe the one across the street from there is also.
So if I go to the building information, maybe. It's not bringing up. Building. Okay, I can't field card. All right, I don't know why it's all blank. All right, we're gonna
That's
have to pick another one.
Is this
Yeah, that's-
house at all?
Because there's no taxes maybe paid.
Oh.
The town-
Well,
the
but
tax-
it should
town-
still have the
town
building
tax.
information, but, well, that's a whole other
How-
thing. But
I
anyway,
don't know.
okay.
What's that one next? Oh, that's
I think are there some on the other side of the street
On-
on the left that are similar sized? So toward the end, the very end of the street up to the left.
So
I can't see
18,
my eyes. Yeah, those. Yeah,
18.
are those about? Yeah,
Maybe
0.14,
18,
those
yeah.
are similar.
so
in lot
18 and
size, I believe.
20, which I think I grabbed in my,
Oh, that's a
yeah,
raised
18
ranch.
and 20 are in my
Mhm.
summary
Mhm.
list. And they are both, yeah, they're raised ranches.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
So that's,
What cottages they got?
that's 18 and that's 1,002.
Okay.
And then it doesn't, again, because the garage is underneath, it does some fun stuff. It doesn't calculate the garage area completely.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, that's all right. I just wanted to try to get a visual. That's
sure.
That's
And
okay.
20 is the exact same, but rotated 180
It's on the
degrees. Yeah,
it's facing that right away, right?
correct.
Yeah.
It's rotated, sorry, 90 degrees. Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. No, that's okay. I have nothing else right
You good? You good?
now. Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Pogson?
Yeah. Sorry if you can't see me. I don't know what's going on. I'm having camera issues. But regardless. I think if I had anything to say, I would just wind up echoing pretty much everything that's been said by the other commissioners. It is quite cramped in there. That's kind of my concern for the property and everything that was discussed about the drainage issues. But I don't really have anything new to add, unfortunately. So that's all I've got.
All right, thanks. And I've got a couple of questions.
Sure.
In terms of the cover, you said there's gonna be some kind of screening for the tanks off to the side.
Yes.
Have you got plans for that? Yeah.
Not yet because, well, I think that would depend. I think if I think on the left side we put a hedge, but on the right side, I think it depends on what we decide with the neighbors. Like, what would they like? Do they like a hedge? Do they like a fence? Do they like, right now there's some, they just purchased that house, 17, and they're doing a lot of work to it. So I said, like, as the time comes closer, let's see what we're doing between the border there. Are we leaving it open? And then I would want something that would combine with that.
And what's the setback there supposed to be?
So the yard setback is 5.5. The regulation for the tank, so for the building, it's 5.5, and the tank is 10 feet or 5 feet with screening. As
So
how
I'm
the-
just thinking the screening, I don't know, the tanks are about 2 feet wide, right?
30 inches.
30
inches.
30 inches.
30
Yeah.
inches.
Okay, so then you put screening there, and I think you're interfering with your setback.
It's right at it.
Put it, so you could put it on the fence line. So the fence,
Yeah.
so the screening, whether it's landscaping or fence, does not adhere to the side yard setbacks.
Hmm.
So the fence could go right on the property line. Or the screening could come just inside the property line.
And the question for you is, we don't have regulations in terms of size of a building on a property. We have that, I think, for businesses, but for commercial property, is that right? In terms of percentage of the lot taken up with building?
No, and we don't, we have floor area ratio in Unionville Center is the only place. So we've got, and we don't have a maximum impervious coverage requirement in our residential. We have maximum impervious for our business, which would include the roof area and the driveway. But I've got the house, so the lot is 6,600 and the house is 2,540 with the garage. That does not include the patios and porches. So just the house, you're just under 50%. You're probably around 40-ish% on the 60, because 6,600 would be 3,300 would be 50%. We're at 2,540. a rooftop. And then you've got patio, porch, and the driveway.
And from the pictures I'm telling you, it seems like the house is about what, 20 feet tall,
It's 21.
21, and
On
on
the-
the left-hand side, that ranch seems significantly
So this,
shorter.
so we've got 20, 21. The eve is at 9, or yeah, 9 feet is the eve. And the peak is at 20 feet, 10 inches. So if we go down, so the 9-foot eve. So the eave's almost in line. It's a much flatter pitch on that home. It's a much flatter pitch.
Can you talk a little bit about the height, because there's a lot of attic there.
So according to the architect, what he spoke to me about is, which is very hard to see from the pictures, he said that the height is more towards the back. It's more towards the back of the actual building, so it's not like directly in the front. And so, that was part of the original design that I wouldn't say, I think it has higher ceilings overall. So some of the ceilings are 10, the living room ceiling is 10 foot, the rest of the ceilings are 9 foot
Oh, in the main part.
in the main house. Mhm. And so,
Is any of the water going into the sewers, or is it all going into that unit in the back from the house?
So the storm, the roof leaders will connect to that infiltration system, so underground. So the gutters will come down, the leader will come down, right? The gutters are gonna come across the house. There'll be the leaders that come down, and then there's a collection pipe around the perimeter of the foundation. And that collection pipe will outlet into the infiltration system in the backyard. There's a high level overflow. Typically, we put it at the house near the foundation so that when we get a higher storm, it's not backing up. It'll overflow and sheet flow through the backyard, and then continue down. So that's the entirety, but the patios, porches, driveways will sheet flow. The driveway will sheet flow out onto Pine Drive. Is that helpful?
Yeah.
Answer? Okay.
I don't have any other
So
questions.
this is here, so if you're so the elevations to the peak is at the 20 feet, 10 inches. And this is the left elevation, looking at 11 Pine, and the right elevation, looking at 17. They may have they may have that option. This actually looks with this opening here. They look like they've got this as the right. I would call this the left elevation. This is this elevation seems to be this side of the house, which I would typically call left as you're looking at it.
Well, isn't there a patio on that side though?
It is, but
And that
this
seems to be
is,
that
so this is the jog out for the porch. This should be the front of the house, I would think. So the porch, and then the
Isn't that, or is that door into the garage? Does that door go into the garage?
it could be
yeah, I think
No, that's what I was
the,
thinking that
I
was.
think that's the patio.
patio.
That's
Okay,
what I was thinking.
I'm thinking,
okay,
Oh, gotcha.
there you go.
So the,
And then this is the patio. Got it.
because that's why the propane tanks have to go
On the other side.
right,
right there. Yeah,
Go
right
here.
there,
The
exactly.
propane tanks are going right
least-
here
at
because there's
least-
no windows.
At least a bunch of, what is it? Is it 10 feet from the door or 3 feet from the door?
Yeah, there, yes.
I forget.
I don't know what it is.
so basically without the special permit, we could build the house, but not, we would need to build it a few feet narrower. And the propane tanks would have to go to the back of the master bedroom, still within the setbacks and everything. But you would lose about 3 feet in the front for the garage, 3.5 feet for the garage area where it kind of bumps out, and then about 1.5 feet for the rest of it. And we just thought this design spaced it better on the property. We felt like you have a little bit more of each side yard. You have a little bit more of centered in the space. And we felt like it was a more usable garage and also easier to screen utilities and bring the propane tanks closer to the street for filling versus being 100 feet away for filling.
I have no other questions, and as is a public hearing, Mr. Chair.
Could I ask a follow-up?
Oh, please,
question?
sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. I got some too.
Could you talk a little bit about the alternatives? Because I understood at the beginning what you just said again, which is you have certain rights to build as a non-conforming lot, but if you make it bigger, then you have to apply to these new rules apply. And so there's some pluses to you to doing that. But talk to us. So if some of our concerns are about the character of the neighborhood, I think it's helpful for us to understand what you might do and what's permitted if this is not right. So you can you just go slower through sort of what you just said a minute ago, which is, so you'd have the 50 feet.
We'd have 50 feet.
And so what would the setbacks be then?
The setbacks would be 5 feet each. So we would make the house 39.5 feet.
So it would be.
We were considering this exact
So it'd be
same.
further from the houses, but closer to the property lines. So the house, the edges of the house would be further from the neighboring houses, the structures, but they would be closer to the property lines.
Not really, honestly. You have more space between 17 with the lot line revision. So the issue that we have with the lot line is we have permission to move the lot line, but if we do it before, it changes the lot for this and then requires a special permit. So we could do it after, but then you're just going to have this big strip of 5 foot, and then you're going to have the house closer to the other, to 17 Pine. And then you're going to have this big strip of 5 foot that we can't build on because we didn't do the lot line revision before the building. Versus if we do it now, we're able to not just make the garage a couple feet bigger to be a 2-car garage instead of 1.5-car garage. We could put garbage cans in the garage. We can shield the propane tanks. And instead of being 5 foot away from the property line, really it's 8 foot in the back and only 6 foot in the front, like the front with that garage, but it's 8 foot in the back. So it is more spaced out from 17 with this design. And it's more spaced out. I feel like even, I feel like you don't have the issue of spacing with 11 Pine as much because just a much larger lot in general, but it still does give a larger setback with after moving the lot line. It gives a larger setback. And with the original design of the house, honestly, if I would have, it was the 40 foot. And I felt like we made a lot of improvements to the interior. We were allowed to make we have like a full suite in there, like an in-law suite. And we made a lot of interior changes that really, that extra 1.5 feet really helped of the actual. And then as far as the garage, just the fact of like being a 19-foot garage is very hard to park 2 cars in. And you can't really put mechanicals in there, and you can't really put garbage cans in there. And then we would have the propane tanks at the rear of the yard. So yeah, the hoses are 120 feet from the propane companies, but it just wasn't as desirable. Like then we have to make fixed windows in the back of the master bedroom because you can't open it because you have propane tanks there. And then you have to put like trees around to make it not look weird, you know? So we just really like this design. And so it was a big investment to go with this design because we had to have an architect redraw everything from the original design that was 40 foot. Whereas we could probably just submit that tomorrow and be like, hey, let's just build this. But we just thought this design was a bigger improvement. And honestly, we thought that it looks better on the lot. We just thought it looks better on the lot. And so that's why we went through all the extra effort of having the DHA, Don Hamburger Associates redo it. And then also in the time, we also made some improvements to the interior as well, because we were redoing the design.
Thanks for elaborating. And
Sure.
clarifying that. That's helpful. I wonder if there, you know, if I hear some of the commissioners' concerns and maybe some of my own, like some of it is the intensity of the use, but I think some of it is just in particular maybe the design and the height and the sort of prominence of the roof, the contemporary design that sort of makes it appear maybe even more imposing than a similar house with a house of the similar dimensions. So in other words, could you make the house the same width and the same length, but somehow sort of change the front design, maybe the roof height, I don't know, such that it seemed less imposing, that it would maybe fit better in the neighborhood and in the lot. It's a unique situation. Certainly, I get that you know, and you just talked about the expense of that you've already incurred, so I understand. But I don't know. In an ideal world, I guess that to me might be, you know, ways to help mitigate, to give you what you want, like what your ideal sort of square footage and hopefully design. I'm not an architect. I don't know what implications of everything I'm even suggesting here, but if there'd be some way to sort of change the frontage of the house and perhaps the roof, you know, angle or something like that, roof height, that perhaps it would be a better solution for the neighborhood.
We've actually had really great comments from the neighbors that we showed the pictures to of the design, that people like it. People that we've showed it to really liked it, which is one reason why we got a letter from Diana next door. So I do hear you, and that's definitely a matter of preference.
Thank you.
I definitely do hear you.
That's all I have. Yeah. Anyone else?
I'm basically echoing everything. I mean, Lisa hit it on the head when she said, you know, it's visually dominating. This house, you know, stands out. I have concerns with the water shedding. You know, if the gutters aren't cleaned, if the gutters get clogged, whatever happens, and it doesn't use that water filtration pool, there's nowhere for that water to go besides the neighbor's yards immediately. So I have a problem with that. I think the comparables that were given to us are a little skewed, especially when you look at, you know, the houses on that street. I mean, it's literally double everything on that street. I understand, you know, again, like we've said, possibly downsizing it, making a finished basement, because, you know, when you look on Zillow and you look on Realtor, yeah, you're going to find bigger houses, you know, the 1800s, but that's including square footage in the basement, not footprint size. This is a 2200 or 2500 square foot footprint size, which is, you know, you're putting 11.5 shoe in a size 12 box. You're not leaving much room. So I'm just, and I'm very, and you guys know me, I'm very lenient, and I'm normally, I understand building a house right now is expensive. Trust me, I get it. And you can't find builders to build small houses because it's not cost effective. I get all that. But at some point, like Commissioner Davison, you know, and Commissioner Fagan and all that, you have to keep some integrity of the neighborhood. And that's why, you know, Lake Garda is what it is. It's because of the integrity of the neighborhood. And then you start shoehorning, like we said, you know, it just looks like we're squeezing in a huge house into something that shouldn't be there. I'm having a hard time with it.
Any other questions before we move to public comment? All right, as it's a public hearing, it's open for public comment. Anybody here? No.
Has anyone called in online to offer public comment regarding the property at, I gotta get the right street number here, 8638 Pine Drive in Lake Garda? If you've called in to offer public comment for this application for new home on Pine Drive, 8638 Pine Drive, please use the feature in Zoom to raise your hand so that you can address the commission with any questions or comments that you may have. No, Mr. Chair, there are no hand raised, so I will just hang on, there is a hand raised. Okay, Wes, if you could give us your full name and address, please, and then address any comments or questions you have to the commission.
Thank you. Are you able to hear me?
We sure are, yes. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. This is Charles Yance, 14 Colony Road, Unionville, Connecticut, 06085. Do you need any other information?
Nope, that's
Okay.
okay. Go ahead with whatever comment or
Thanks.
question you have for the commission. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
so I appreciate, we appreciate all the information that was shared. I think echoing concerns that were raised. I think the two things about the neighborhood and comments regarding the kind of character. I think everyone's aware that it's I think correctly described as intensive usage of the space, but I think what we've seen over the last 10 years since we've been here, 11 years we've been here, is increasing kind of shoehorning in of large houses and small properties. So it's not kind of unusual for this to be the direction with newer builds. And I think most of those have accommodated it by building up, and that's been more jarring to the sight lines and look of the community than the building out. So I'll be honest, we were a little bit more pleased when we saw the design that it was a single floor. I think our biggest concern will be the concerns raised about water runoff, because we're the property directly downhill from this one. And it sounds like that's something that would be continue to be addressed. I listened pretty effectively, understood the drainage systems being proposed. So I think that, I think that's probably the biggest concern for us is an adjacent property is the water runoff and implications that might have for our property's integrity. I think as far as the look of the neighborhood, I think we always want to maintain the character of Lake Garda. I think, it's a little more modern, but it's not totally out of character. And as far as the height, I think that would be preferable than going taller, which would be the other option to get the square footage. We actually, our property, just because of the way the house next door the two houses were built, there's very little room between the two houses, even though both properties are actually larger than the lot that's being discussed tonight. And it's manageable. But I'd say there's probably 12 feet between the two houses, the two structures. So I think, given everything, I think it's workable. But I do have concerns if they were pressed to build taller, especially because they're one of the higher points of the neighborhood. And we have seen some houses go in the past few years that have been demonstrably tall in the neighborhood, and they do stick out more than the ones that are a little more modern or a little bit, bit flatter. So I think that's our take. I'm not overly opposed to the design. I think, definitely squeezing a lot of house into a small lot. But given that, I think it's still tasteful. And I will say that Liz and Manuel have been very forthcoming and sharing information. So we appreciate that as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for taking the time to call in. If there is anyone else that's called in online that wants to offer comment regarding this application this evening, raise your hand using the feature in Zoom. Mr. Chair, I'm just going to formally enter into the record. These letters were mentioned earlier. Diana Rodriguez at 17 Pine Drive issued a letter of support for the project, and the Lastrapo family at 9 Colony Road issued a letter of support for this project as well. And both are obviously entered into the record, and they had been shared with the commission and posted on the website prior to the meeting.
Thank you. All right, any further questions before we close up the hearing?
I guess the only question I'd have is, given some of the questions that have been raised, is there any interest in considering extending the public hearing to allow the applicant to consider their options if they would like to consider any alterations or changes, and defer a vote tonight? That's, I guess, an option that we could consider.
I suppose, well, looking at it, the application is for a site plan that's in excess of 1,600 square feet living area and 2,000. So,
yeah, I mean, maybe it's a question for the applicant of like, does she have any interest in considering any alterations based on feedback and thoughts that are given, or prefer us to close the hearing and vote? She can always come back and apply again, but
Well, I'm happy to work with the staff to address any concerns for sure. And we have been working with the planning and zoning staff. There's a window right now for building for this year, and we've already put it off for a year because of a lot of these questions and thoughts. So, I mean, we would really like to move forward. We would like to move forward, whether it's with this exact plan, which is our first plan, or whether it's with a narrower plan. We would like to move forward. My construction manager is a snowbird, so he's only available till the snow starts to fall. And he felt like we should go through this process because he thought that it was worth it to really fight for the exact floor plan that we thought was the best. So that's why we're here, is just to hope that you guys see what we see and can support it. So,
any other questions before? All right, I'm going to close public hearing. Any discussion?
So I just want to bottom line what I think I've heard is if we don't approve this, that house is pretty much still going up, but slightly smaller. If this is approved, the size you see there goes up with the enhancements that's been shared with us tonight. That's really what's in front of us.
Is that true, Shannon?
I would agree with that statement, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they can by right on the 50 square foot, on the 50-foot frontage lot, come in and build. So regardless of the lot line is irrelevant. So but on the 50-foot frontage could come in and shrink the home so that it fits on that 50-foot frontage and apply for a building permit.
Mm-hmm.
So even if it's over the threshold, so the 1,600 square foot threshold and the 3,200, so they can come right in and apply for the building permit because it predates, it's grandfathered in. Once they change the lot, that's then with the lot line modification kicks it in to here. So that officially has not been done yet. So it's shown graphically to show how this would fit. But on that 50-foot lot, it predates that regulation and I cannot enforce it. They would have to comply to all the regulations at the time that the lot was constructed.
So just one last question. I know you've said this a few times, but how much wider is the house getting that you're asking?
So I'm going to ask, so the public hearing's closed, so you can ask me for clarifying questions or you can talk amongst yourself.
So can you answer that one, Shannon?
So you said how much wider? So right now I believe the applicant said 40 feet versus the 43 that was shown, which would make sense. So the 50-foot frontage would give you 5-foot setback on either side. So 5 and 5 is 10 from the 50 is 40 feet, so 39 and a half. 40 feet on the foundation, so somewhere in there would be the full width. And what was proposed was 43 feet.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else?
So to piggyback on that, so we're basically saying that house, if they set the new pins for the new, is only going to be 3 feet bigger than if they don't. Wider.
That is what the applicant has stated, correct? And from a zoning, right, from my standpoint, if they apply for the building permit with a 40-foot width, we'll still, so the stormwater elements would still be things that staff will look for, the erosion control, all of those things are all things that staff still looks at. As the build.
It would be less deep into the property. Is that right? Probably half, right?
No, wait, what? Because you think that it's restricted from a size standpoint? Because I don't think it is.
It's 1,600 square feet.
But that
No,
doesn't apply.
it's not, it doesn't apply.
Oh, it does not apply.
That's
So basically the same size house, just on a smaller lot.
or maybe longer. I don't.
This much.
Yeah.
It's the same height and everything. So
Yeah,
I'm
just-
not sure.
We're talking about 1 yard,
It's 3 to 4 feet.
3 feet.
Narrower. And this, the proposal shifts it over. I guess the edge of the house 1 foot further from the right side neighbor, and
It looks like it's going to be more centered in between the two.
yes. So those are the choices. Yeah.
Any other thoughts?
I don't know if it matters any. I was just looking at houses in Unionville over 2,000 square feet, and there's like 19 of them, and they're all on much larger lots. Like I can't find any comparables. Not that that necessarily matters, but I honestly can't find any ranches that, or I'm sorry, similar design homes that are in the whole area.
Yeah, we don't, if the building permit comes in, we'll go through all of these things, but at the end of the day, if it complies with the zoning from 1950, then that's what we will be held to.
And why does it get to? Sorry, why?
Because
It's non-conforming. A non-conforming lot they get to.
So it's an existing, the regulation, and that goes, it ties back to some wording in the general statute that if it's an existing lot of record, they can hold to the existing zoning at the time that that lot came into existence.
Which was
Once they change the lot line, it's no longer an existing lot of record.
But then if we change any zoning
Yes,
on a vacant property,
yes,
then any owner can essentially say, I don't care about the current zoning and I'm just going to always use my old zoning.
to a certain extent, yes. Yeah, sorry.
Well,
That was,
this one,
Wasn't my understanding. Yeah.
yeah, that it is. So if it's a vacant lot of record and it goes back, then yes, they can apply, and we have those conversations all the time. It happens more frequently with residential than you'll see with commercial.
Thank you.
But we get it quite frequently, actually.
Anybody else? Anything to say? I guess my problem is that we're looking at all the comparables and we're talking about it's almost double all the houses that are nearby.
Yeah.
And the roof line is double the size of the house next door. I'm just not sure. I don't feel like it fits in the character of the neighborhood. I don't feel that. I do feel like it's taller than the one next door. And I know our hands are tied, but I still feel like I would never hurt them. You would agree with that. It's problematic that it's stuff like this. Yeah, I also hate denying somebody a dream. That piece of property, want to put a house I love.
Right.
And I don't like that either. So that all said, do we think we're ready for a motion?
It's,
and a vote.
I'll simply ask that I prefer the motion in the affirmative, and then you can vote
Right.
in either direction.
Direction.
But that's
Yeah.
just a polite reminder, if you would. Thank you.
I think ultimately, I mean, the question that we're asking ourselves is what's the best thing for the neighborhood, for the town? At least that's the question I guess I'm asking myself. Sort of principles aside to some degree, right? But just the choices are the choices that we have to a large extent. So
I keep going back to,
we may not like the choice,
exactly, yeah.
but
I,
those are the
because no
choices.
matter how the vote goes or whatever, it's
Right.
basically gonna get done.
Right.
I mean, and they moved the lot over a little bit to make it look more appealing. But still, if they're gonna put the same style house on the lot, they don't move them. I mean, we're kind of, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the 5 feet anyway. I mean, you know, if you get a neighbor that puts up a fence, you're encroaching on their property just to get a wheelbarrow back there. You know,
In my opinion, homes that don't have much of a perimeter, free yard, there's a lot of issues visually with respect to when we work with clients and homeowners and people. And it's and not saying that anyone in particular is going to not keep their yards or something a certain way, but it does make it's big difference between seeing it on paper, drafted, and a livable situation. That's where I'm stuck.
agreed.
And I don't know how many 4-bedroom homes are in that neighborhood.
Guess very little.
All right.
I think we've debated this one enough. It's just
Yeah.
a matter of, you know, put a motion on the table and vote and call it a day.
All right. I'm gonna do it.
Do I want to do it? Not really, but okay. I make a motion that we hereby accept the application for a special permit and special site plan approval for a new single-family home in excess of 1,600 living square feet or square feet living area and 2,200 square feet total area at lot 8638 Pine Drive, R9 LG zone, presented by Elizabeth and Manuel Coelho.
Second.
All right. So all those who are in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed?
Aye.
Nay. Say nay.
Nay.
Nay. Sorry.
So, all right, we got
Maybe we should do it.
4 and 8. So I've got Canto, Zarella, Saint Germain, and Fagan is no. Did I get that right? Okie dokie. Thank you.
Any abstentions? All right. The motion does not pass.
Thank you very much. So Liz, we can follow up with you tomorrow. So,
So just to clarify, that did not pass?
correct.
Yes.
Okay, so the person online didn't vote.
They don't vote. The 6 members.
don't-
So, and Rob did.
I don't vote because I'm an alternate right now.
Correct.
Oh, right.
So it's a six member board with 2 alternates this evening.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks for your time, guys. Appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you. All right. Do we have a planner's report?
Okay. It's brief. We have sign regulations. Staff has finished going through. We finished that on Friday. There's one nuance we're working through. I'm going to get it sent to Bob D within the next few days for him to take a look. Again, I think I discussed briefly Garrett did a deep dive for us with respect to CGS, the Connecticut General Statutes, sorry, and case law, and content of sign. And there's two things in particular I'm going to ask Bob to chime in on, and that's with respect to open signs and directional signs. Now that staff has finished going through, I'm going to kick it over to him. So, and then I will, once I get his thoughts on that, I will circulate it to you folks for discussion. I'm sure you'll have as great fun with it as we have had. Ground mounted solar. It's riveting. It's 7 pages of intense fun. Ground mounted solar. We took a look at that. I've got Garrett needs to do an exhibit for us, so we've got a visual because there's a nuance that he's added in. This will come into the accessory structure regulation. So Article 4, Section 2. We had discussed that this loosely has been allowed under our satellite dish. We've lumped it in with that satellite dishes and ground mounted solar. We're thinking it's best to pull that out so that it's its own regulation. So that should be ready for the next meeting with an exhibit for that.
Shannon, if I can.
Yes.
But sorry, if you were done with ground, I had a question about ground mount. What I was just wondering, what was prompting changes to this? Was there something?
Sure, because you, if you want to know. The short answer is you.
Don't sugarcoat it. Tell us how you
No, I'm not. That's the short. It's 9 o'clock. It's the short answer. Is you. And no, that's actually a compliment because you're not right. It's not specifically addressed in the regulation.
And there's someone who's interested in.
There is a current property owner that's interested in ground mounted solar.
That's
for residential. So
just to be clear, that's what.
Right.
Well, no, but well, exactly. But we have historically put these in under.
It's both.
It's both. We've have historically put these in under the satellite dish regulation for accessory structure, and they all follow the same where the shed, the pool, the satellite dish right behind the longest rear wall of the house. And if it's a corner lot, you take it's the back rear corner. It's the same height restrictions. It's the same. There's a lot of things that are the same. So it was easy and did not create an issue. However, you percolate in the back of my head, and it's technically not in the regulation, and so it's not specifically itemized. And to that end, you're correct, it is not itemized, and so we're going ahead knowing that somebody's made some inquiries, so preemptively going ahead and trying to get this lined out. And Garrett, we've had some of these that have had to come in for zoning board of appeals because of odd shaped lots. And they weren't fitting neatly without taking down an inordinate amount of trees, they didn't fit where in that back behind the longest rear wall or whatever it is. So for our 40 and our 80 lots, Garrett has crafted some wording to allow other locations that aren't necessarily street front that would work. But that's what we're going to need an exhibit for. So we've got a visual to talk ourselves through this. So,
and will this also address commercial or utility grade ground solar operations?
So no, so that is automatically a site plan. So that is automatic. So any commercial and any commercial property that wants to put in ground mounted solar will have to adhere to their setback requirements. So technically they could put it in the front yard. I mean, if it's a 50-foot front yard, they could put it at 50 feet, but no, it does not tackle that. But that's something that we collectively can discuss.
I just know, right, there've been some large scale ground solar in other towns that have caused some concerns in those towns. I don't know.
So
if there's anything we should be thinking about to preempt any potential issue.
Sure. There's some, so if it's a smaller, gosh, I want to say if it's 5 megawatt.
That's right. We don't have to get into
I
all
think-
the details now.
Yeah, no, but just the commercial ones, if they hit a certain threshold, it kicks out of here and goes to siting council.
Oh, okay.
So it doesn't even, it's,
right, yeah.
we're advisory. We'll get a cursory
Yeah,
notice and we're advisory to siting council, so we can
Yep. Okay.
ask for screening and things like that. So, yes,
Thanks.
sure. Plan of conservation and development. So, we have gotten through everything. We did I say got through everything, sorry. The submissions were received on May 1st. Staff opened it May 4th. I have been working to get caught up with staff through May after being out the first week of May. We created a short list. The respondents who have not been invited to continue have been notified. They were notified last week. The respondents who've been acknowledged to continue to interview have been acknowledged with notice that says we're working on coming to a date. So we're hoping to interview the week of June 22nd, and then staff will work, presumably we will concur on a respondent and come to a decision. And then staff will work with the selected respondent to finalize fee, and then that goes to town council for approval. Hopefully, I'm hoping to get this done in July. So this is, we're really jamming, with me losing a week in May and getting behind did not help, but this is where we are. So I'm hoping to get this done to town council in July so that we can start working with them the end of July, and maybe have our initial meeting with them in July before we go on the August hiatus. And then staff, they can start working and get thinking about some of the public engagement and start some of that, not the actual public engagement, but getting the platforms in place. Obviously, we will not start public engagement in August, but be ready to have everything in place so that we can hit the ground running in September, October, November. So we've got a busy fall from that standpoint.
Shannon, when do aquifer protection permits? That's later this year. When?
So those are going to be
latest date or whatever. Like,
yeah, it'll be in the fall.
Okay.
So Garrett has issued all the letters and all the notifications, and we poked at them again, and we're supposed to have all the initial packages in July of the registrations. The word was escaping me. So all the new registrations or re-registrations, they're not new, but re-registrations in by July. We're going to do a few site inspections and then start rotating that through. Probably not July, knowing the 2 public hearings we've got in July. So it will probably be September and October. And we've got a little bit of wiggle room. I think the technical expiration date is October for most of them. And if it's November, December, the DEP is fine. Then knowing that we're moving ahead and processing and everything's in progress, there's not a huge heartache on that end. So, but we are going to try to get some inspections done on those and go through.
Thanks.
So, yes.
Any other questions for Shannon? All right, can I get someone to make a motion to approve the minutes of May 27th, 2026 Town Plan and Zoning Commission meeting by just saying so moved?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Everyone in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I abstain. I wasn't here. All right, 1 abstention. All right, with that, I'm going to close up shop.